as promised, I am back with another soft-spoken ASMR video. Today, I have this Disney World photo souvenir book. I'm not sure exactly which year it's from. I want to say 1985 or 1986 because it doesn't have Wonders of Life in the Epcot section, and that opened in 1989. I did another video that had this book where I just flipped through it with no talking, but I thought that instead of doing a Pixar story time, that I could do a story time reading about the parks. I always think it's interesting to look at older like vintage Disney materials to see what things they say, what's changed, what might be the same. So I particularly wanted to look at the Epcot sections because a lot of the attractions that existed when Epcot opened in the early 80s in Future World don't exist anymore or have been changed and replaced. So I always just think it's interesting. I always really like Epcot history. So let's go ahead and get to that place. I also like how on the cover here it has Figment. So we have Mickey, we have a diver from the Living Seas, a Jungle Cruise boat and elephant, a golfer, and flowers from the resorts, a parrot from the Discovery Island that doesn't exist now because Animal Kingdom has replaced it, and the ferry boat. So we've got our buddy Figment here. So I'm just gonna flip through to the Epcot parts. See, it doesn't. I was hoping that on one of the early pages it would say the year when this was made, but it doesn't. It just says that it's dedicated to Walt Disney. So I'm gonna go ahead and skip through the Magic Kingdom part. Maybe I could do something about the Magic Kingdom part later, but for today's video I specifically wanted to focus on Epcot. So here we go. Got Epcot. Epcot Center Future Worlds. A sun-spangled geosphere stands as the regal entrance to Future World and Epcot Center. Beyond this architectural wonder, the dominions of Future World literally know no bounds. We venture back in time to the dawn of recorded history before being propelled to the sunrise of another future. We explore the depths of the oceans, traverse the land, and race toward the farthest reaches of space. Dynamic themes are the driving forces of Future World, and each pavilion is a dazzling statement about the subject it presents. So some of these things still exist. Those fountains in imagination still exist. The monorail still goes around here, but now this is the test track building, and then it used to be World of Motion. Figment is still in the parks, but sadly Dreamfinder is not. So this view, more or less, is still kind of present, except the Universe of Energy building is being changed now. But more or less, this view still exists. Spaceship Earth. Spaceship Earth is the world's largest geosphere, 180 feet in diameter, and rises 18 stories above the Florida Earth. It dominates the Epcot Center skyline its outside skin of polished aluminum, reflecting the sunshine or the colorful night lighting. The geosphere's unique method of construction enables it to be stable without use of any interior supports. I used to know exactly how many triangles were in this design because I did my college program in the shops underneath, but I have forgotten, so maybe they'll tell us later on. Who are we? Where have we come from? Where are we going? These are the questions posed to guests in Spaceship Earth. Housed in the spectacular Epcot Center geosphere, Spaceship Earth serves as the theme show for all of Future World. It graphically illustrates the importance of communications to man's survival and to his future. Spaceship Earth is more than a story about our ancestors. It's about us, our evolution, our achievements, and our future responsibilities. Following a storyline conceived specifically for Spaceship Earth by eminent science fiction author Ray Bradbury, we take a journey through time unlike any ever experienced or imagined. Spiraling gently upward through the geosphere, time machine vehicles take us back to the beginning of communication, back to the Cro-Magnon cave where man first began recording events on a wall. As we move through time, viewing the audio animatronic show, we see this first writing surface takes on different forms and shapes, advancing thousands of years to the New Kingdom of Egypt. We see papyrus invented, making the wall portable. In the 9th century BC, the Phoenicians invent the alphabet, making written communication available to the common people as well as the wealthy. If you can read this, just thank the Venetians. And on through the history of communication we travel, from the days of the Roman Empire through the Middle Ages to the revolutionary introduction of the Gutenberg printing press. The captivating ride aboard the time machine vehicles takes us through the history of communication. We see the first crude cave paintings, the beginnings of language, the invention of the printing press, and modern computerized information storage and retrieval. This awe-inspiring presentation serves to remind us that we are fellow passengers on the spaceship we call Earth. It will be our opportunity to make it a better place through effectively using and sharing our knowledge. A sophisticated communication center manned by audio animatronic figures exemplifies modern communications technology. Here we watch computer-enhanced images, thermography, microcircuitry, and computer graphics and animation. Today we receive and process an awesome amount of information, all of which can be applied to making our lives safer, happier, and more productive. So this book goes into a lot more detail about the attractions than I thought it would. So since Spaceship Earth more or less has stayed very similar to its 80s vision, I think I'm going to go ahead and skip the rest of what's written about it and find an attraction that is either no longer exists or is very different than what we have now. So let's see. So Communicore doesn't exist anymore. I personally like Horizons, so let me see if I can find Universe of Energy and Horizons. The dinosaurs, Universe of Energy, Horizons. So I think I wrote this ride. I think I wrote it when I was like maybe 4 or 5, and then we didn't get to come back to Disney until after it had closed. but it does have a very big fan base, and I think you can find ride-through videos of it on YouTube. So let's see what they have to say about Horizons. Mission Space is now located in the spot where Horizons used to be. Housed in a building that looks like a gigantic gem, Horizons is a bright view of what is in store for our future. A galaxy of pioneering visual effects show future cityscapes, space colonies, floating cities, and desert farms. Before entering the future, we see today's world as we've never seen it before. The incredible Omnisphere presents microworlds of crystal formation and chains of DNA. Omnisphere also shows macroworlds, a fiery space shuttle blastoff, and intriguing extraterrestrial locales. On tomorrow's Horizons, we find a 21st century habitat beneath the sea. Here, school children equip themselves with recirculation gills for a field trip to an undersea kelp farm. In the desert community of the future, voice-controlled robots are seen harvesting genetically engineered crops. We also visit space colonists who live within the interior of a sphere that rotates to simulate the pull of gravity. To bring members of the family together from ocean, urban, desert, and space habitats, colonists use a holographic televiewer, one of tomorrow's many innovations for a better life. Before leaving the 21st century, we choose our own tomorrow by simply pressing one of the buttons aboard the ride vehicle. Our probe of the future culminates in a simulated ride through one of the environments we've just viewed: ocean, desert, or space. So this farm scene, I think it was like farming on Mars or on some other planet, and when you went through the ride, there was an orange smell. That was like the original orange smell. And now I think when you say about the orange smell, people think of Soarin'. But that's kind of how you can separate like the older Disney fans from the newer ones, because the OGs know that the orange smell is from Horizons. So this is like more from Horizons. This is inside the queue for Mission Space, this whole contraption. As we pass by tomorrow's windows, Horizons shows us captivating views of lifestyles in the future below. We see how people would live in the zero gravity environment of a free floating space colony. Brava Centauri left, and Nova Cite, a fantastic metropolis, is seen from the windows of an urban apartment above. At Sea Castle, a vast floating city in the Pacific, youngsters regularly take field trips to robot-manned sea farms. Right at Mesa Verde, a desert agricultural complex, we watch a farmer prepare cake in his electric pantry, below right. So there's the cake. This, when you are leaving, I don't know if it's still there or not, because I haven't been to Disney in a while, and I've heard there's been a lot of construction, but when you are leaving Space Mountain, there was like a Space Mountain in Disney World. There was this little moving sidewalk, and you would see views of a futuristic city, and I always think that was what it was supposed to be. And oh my gosh, I forgot what else I was gonna say. Oh yeah, and then when it says that they were gonna go on a field trip to Mesa Verde, in the moving walkway that you go through on the exit of Space Mountain in Disney World, there's a suitcase, and it has all these stickers, and one of them was Mesa Verde. So there's a lot of little Horizons Easter eggs throughout the park still. Next we have the World of Motion. So Test Track is there now. The World of Motion, I feel like it didn't last very long compared to the rest of Future World, because I think Test Track opened in 94, so I think this closed in the early 90s. But World of Motion. The quest to push back the boundaries of time and space by expanding our own mobility has, through thousands of years of continual development, transformed our enormous Earth into the accessible global village it is today. To experience a world of motion is to trace the development of transportation from man's first form of mobility, foot power, up to present and possible future methods. World of Motion begins with a rollicking journey that captures the essence of transportation history through the largest audio animatronics show ever produced by Disney. So this is where Test Track is right now, but that's what it used to look like when it was World of Motion. The World of Motion show takes a humorous look at the history of transportation. We see the first wheel factory, a Roman-used chariot lot, and the beginning of the age of flight as a brave balloonist soars over the rooftops of London with a cargo of pigs, goats, and chickens. The show culminates in the world's first traffic jam. The Trans Center completes the World of Motion experience with 5 main exhibit areas. Aerotest dramatically demonstrates airflow patterns and their effect on fuel economy and automotive design. Bird and the Robot is a comic presentation about the state-of-the-art robots working in industry. The Water Engine, an animated argument among 9 cartoon characters, concerns the pros and cons of several types of internal combustion engines. Concept 2000 looks at the most advanced automobile design procedures, and Dreamers Workshop presents designs for future technologies. World of Motion encourages all of us to look to the future of transportation with interest, hope, and optimism. So that makes sense that it wouldn't have been able to last too far into the 90s, because Concept 2000 was supposed to be the most advanced design procedures, and obviously now it's 2020, and so anything like Concept 2000 would seem really dated today, so that makes sense. Trans Center is full of entertaining displays about the automobile, this century's most important form of transportation. It features such innovations as the Lean Machine, which can go from 0 to 60 in 7 seconds. The Aero 2000, which shows the beneficial effect of aerodynamics on fuel economy, and a coal-burning engine. The Dreamers Workshop shows us sleek prototype cars of the future, and in other Trans Center displays we can watch an automobile design take shape in computer-assisted graphics, a General Motors torture test for new cars, and a humorous look at robots on the assembly line in the Bird and Robot show. So essentially, Test Track, it looks like it took the ideas from from Dreamers Workshop and just made it into attraction. Because now in the line for Test Track, you get to design your own car instead of just watching someone do it. And it used to be that you were the trash dummies doing the torture tests. And now you still kind of are, like you're testing out the new car that you designed. So this section basically became the Test Track ride that we have now. And Journey into Imagination. So, even though this ride technically still exists, it is a very, very, very different ride than what it was originally intended to be. So, we'll go ahead and look at this one. The human imagination is one of the most powerful and mysterious forces in the universe. Although no one really understands the process of imagination, it is the wellspring of creativity. Our ability to imagine and create is the source of all our achievement and progress. Journey into Imagination uses the Disney tools of magic, fantasy, and enchantment to remind us that all of our accomplishments begin with ideas. There's Dreamfinder with Figment. Dreamfinder is sadly not in the ride anymore, but Figment, a more annoying version of the once cute and lovable Figment is still around in the parks. Journey into Imagination is housed in a striking pavilion of quirky geometric shapes. The building itself is made of triangles of glass. One of its fountains, the Leapfrog Fountain in the Picture Garden, is an electronically controlled marvel that squirts 1-inch streams of water from planter to planter, sometimes even over the heads of startled but delighted guests. Imagination is something that is shared by all. Journey into Imagination demonstrates that we need only learn to unlock imagination and use the elements that surround us to find new solutions to the problems and challenges of tomorrow. The metaphorical world of Journey into Imagination would not have been complete without characters to populate it. Characters who could tell the story in a natural way without lecturing. To accomplish this, the designers created what are probably the two most memorable characters in Epcot Center, Dreamfinder and Figment. Dreamfinder is a jolly bearded gentleman who represents the mature, accomplished side of imagination, but who has never lost his curiosity and willingness to explore. Figment is a little dragon who embodies the impatient, questioning side of imagination that is usually associated with childhood. Journey into Imagination, with its appeal to dreams and childlike wonder, conveys the idea that imagination is the key to creative and technical advancements. The ability to imagine and create is essential to our future survival and can enhance our enjoyment of the present as well. Our hosts for Journey into Imagination are Dreamfinder, a jolly red-bearded professor, and Figment, a mischievous purple dragon who is fashioned from the horns of a steer, royal purple pigment, and a dash of childish delight. Together they take us on an exploration of everyday elements that, when touched by imagination, combine into weird and wonderful things. So this ride used to be a whole lot cooler than the one that currently exists. And then afterwards, you used to be able to go up to a play area, which now part of it is used as a merchandise stockroom, and part of it is used as the DVC member lounge. Except the DVC member lounge does not have the rainbow tunnel and stuff turned on. It would be cool if it did. In the ImageWorks, we can experience the delightful fruits of imagination. We walk through color in the rainbow corridor above right, and make music with our feet on stepping tones above left. A version of this still exists when you exit Journey into Imagination, but it doesn't really light up like that. It's just like little things that you can step on. It's more of like a children's playground. Journey into Imagination also sports a 3-dimensional motion picture that makes every viewer want to reach out and touch its images. This still exists. You can see all the very 70s and 80s clothes that they're wearing. Right now this is like Pixar shorts, and so you can still watch things in the theater. Okay, the land. So, the land now still has Living with the Land. But, well, it used to be called Listen to the Land instead of Living with the Land. And we don't have Kitchen Cabaret anymore because that is where Soul Ring is. Each of the acts of Kitchen Cabaret focuses on one of the 4 basic food groups: meats and proteins, dairy products, fruits and vegetables, and grains and cereals. The jokes are corny and the characters are endearing. They make the good nutrition message an easy one to swallow. As Bonnie Appetit says in the finale, proper foods each time you dine can keep you fit and feeling fine. Eating right is a healthy sign. The Living Seas has changed as well. Now it's the Seas with Nemo and Friends. It used to be Sea Race Alpha. Everything from tiny, luminescent tropical fish to giants of the deep will thrive in the living seas just as they do in their natural environment. Fish and mammals, crustaceans and plants will inhabit a man-made reef constructed to duplicate nature's own undersea habitat. The Caribbean coral reef will be only one of many features. Seabase Alpha will be a prototype communication center for research, where future scientists can live and work within the undersea environment. Guests will be able to communicate directly with researchers working underwater. Hands-on activities will include opportunities to touch and see fish and mammals. Displays will present ocean technologies past, present, and future. This will not only give us an understanding of this vast storehouse of food, energy, and minerals, but will also enable us to experience underwater exploration. The living seas will also feature a restaurant, a theater, experimental laboratories, and specialized saltwater environments. Within the living seas, we will be free to examine a myriad of demonstrations that reflect 21st century undersea technology. So, when this book came out, the living seas had not even opened yet. Oh, it says the living seas opened in 1986. So I think my guess that this came out in 84 or 85 is probably correct. And that's the end of Future World. So World Showcase has definitely had a lot of significant changes over the year, but I think we will save looking at Future World for another day. So I hope that you have enjoyed this little peek at what Future World in Epcot used to look like over 30 years ago, probably closer to almost 40 years ago. And I will see you back here tomorrow for another Disney ASMR video. Bye everybody!